Hi, and welcome back. Today we're going to find the highest common factor. So the highest common factor, or HCF, is the largest number that can divide into two or more numbers. Right? We've done this before, but it's really important when we're going to go and factorize to have this concept kind of nailed in. So look at the three statements below. There are only two that are correct. Which statement is wrong? At this time, I'd like you to pause your video, give it a think, and when you're ready, you can press play. So the highest common factor of 2 and 4 is 2. Well, how do we find the highest common factor? The easiest method is if we just write out all the factors and find the biggest number that occurs in both. Because we're going to do this after, but if we can do it with a couple uh, easier types, you might catch on. So all the factors of 2 are 1 and 2, and all the factors of 4 are 1 times 4 and 2 times 2. So if it's a repeating number, you only state it once. And try and write them in ascending order or least to greatest, because this way it's going to be a lot easier to pick out that highest common factor. And it's just kind of a standard we try and do in maths. It helps out in lots of different areas of math. So if you start just organizing numbers wherever you can, it'll be easier when you're actually under pressure. So I'm just going to go ahead and do all the factors for all three. So all the factors of 4 are 1, 2, and 4. We've done it already. And the factors of 16 are 1, 2, 4, 8, and 16. And the highest common factor of 4 is again 1, 2, and 4. And the factors of 10 are 1, 2, 5, and 10. So let's just go through here now. So the highest common factor of 2 and 4 is 2. Well, 2 is the biggest number that occurs in both, so I'm going to agree with A. Then we're going to look at B. The highest common factor of 4 and 16 is 8. Well, no, because we don't actually go up to the number 8 with 4. So right away we know that that one's wrong. So if it ever says the highest common factor is bigger than the number in question, well, you know it's wrong because it has to divide into it. And lastly, the highest common factor of 4 and 10 is 2. Well, yeah, it's the highest number that occurs in both, so I'm going to agree with that. So I know that was a little intro of what we're actually going to do. So let's do a little bit of a harder example in depth. So here we're going to look for the highest common factor of 20 and 24. So we can write out all the factors of each number as step 1. So all the factors of 20 are 1 and 20. We have 2 and 10, and we have 4 and 5. You can always stop when you get two numbers next to each other or when you've got the same number. So with the example of the factors of 4, we had 1 times 4 and 2 times 2. At that 2 number, we know that we've kind of crossed that middle path, so we can stop. And then with 24, we have 1 and 24. We have 2 and 12. We have 3 and 8. We have 4 and 6. Okay. But do you see why I said that we should organize them least to greatest? So I'm going to do that under step 2 because that really does help me. So under 20, let's organize it. 1, 2, 4, 5. 1, 2, 4, 5, 10, and 20. And for 24, we're going to organize it as 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 8, 12, and lastly 24. So by doing this, now we can go down and kind of cross out things. So if we look at our top one, does 20 20 happen in our bottom row? No, it doesn't, so let's cross it out. How about 10? Nope, closest thing are 8 and 12. 5, well, no, closest things are 4 and 6. 4, oh yeah, look at that, it's in both, so we can circle it. And lastly, you always want to state that your highest common factor is a number, because you haven't actually answered the question, you've just kind of circled it, so you want the reader, whoever is looking at your paper, always to know what you're saying. And also, if you have to go back and look quickly, or say if you're revising, it'll be very quick to see what you did. So next example, example 2, we're going to find the highest common factor of 16 and 24. So once again, let's just start writing out our factors. So all the factors of 16 are 1, 2, 4, 8, and 16. And all the factors of 24 are, well, we just did it. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 8, 12, and 24. Don't worry if you can't get them, sorry, don't worry if you can't get them as quick as I am, because I've done this for a while. It'll all come with practice. So now what do? We look for the highest numbers, so you can either cross it out. 16 doesn't happen in the bottom, so cross it out. Well, next one, 8. Yeah, sure does. It's right there. So we can state that our highest common factor is equal to 8. Next one, let's do the highest common factor of 20 and 22. So write out all of your factors for 20, which is 1, 2, 4, 5, 10, and 20. And for 22, we then have 1, 2, 11, and 22. So this time I'm going to look at the bottom and compare it to the top. So does 22 happen in the top? No, because the biggest number was 20. Next, does 11 happen in the top? No, the closest number is 10, so we can cross it out. Oh, now we found one. 2 occurs in both, so our highest common factor is indeed 2 here. So moving on to our last 2 examples before we get some practice questions. So we have looking at our highest common factor, and notice how there's some negatives in here. It doesn't actually make too much sense to be talking about negative numbers with highest common factors. So for our example 4, let's just disregard that there's a negative number at all. I put them in here because I want you to start to think what happens if you do have negative numbers. How are we going to treat these? How might this help us branch into the next thing we're going to talk about? So what are all our factors of 8 though? We have 1, 2, 4, and 8. And we have, for 4, we have 1, 2, and 4. And so pretty quickly, you can see that our highest common factor is 4 here. Like I said, we can't do anything with that negative in terms of factoring, right, or getting rid of it. And it doesn't really go in with the highest common factor and factoring part of this, but it's going to help with our next topic. So we're just going to leave that one on example 4 alone. But with example 5, I do want to show you something at the end of here. But first off, let's just quickly write out our factors of 4 and 2, because our factors of 4 are just 1, 2, and 4. And our factors of 2 are just 1 and 2. So we know that our highest common factor is just 2. Right? Some of you could just pick it out without even having to do it, and that's completely fine. But now let's actually look at the -4 and -2 and just consider this as a thought experiment, okay? Just over here on the right-hand side. So if we have -4, or sorry, say if we have 4 and 2, like we did. We said the highest common factor is equal to 2. So it's the biggest thing we can bring out of each and still be left with something. So what I mean is if we do 4 and we divide it by our highest common factor, we're going to get a positive 2. And here, if we do 2 divided by our highest common factor, we're just going to get positive 1. So if we have negative 4 and negative 2, though, and can we divide by anything that's going to make these both easier? Well, yeah. There's no reason that we can't divide by a negative number. We've done this before. We can divide by negative 4 here. Or sorry, not negative 4. Our highest common factor is 2. So let's divide by negative our highest common factor here, and negative our highest common factor here. So we are actually going to still get 2 and 2, or sorry, and 1. So this, like I said, that stuff on the right, if you don't understand it right now, that's fine. We're going to cover it, and it'll make a lot more sense in the next video when we start to talk about factorization.